Hello and welcome to EFD, where today we're bringing you 10 Premier League footballers and their unlikely teammates. Let's start with the Manchester City superstar. 10. Kevin de Bruyne and Sokratis. In his time at Arsenal, Sokratis has played against Manchester City twice, losing 2-0 and 3-0 and getting booked on both occasions. So the Greek must look back fondly on his days at Werder Bremen when he played alongside Kevin de Bruyne rather than against him. The Belgian joined the side on loan in 2012-13 after his £7 million switch to Chelsea from Genk and immediately showed his quality, contributing 10 goals and 9 assists in 33 league appearances, more than anyone else at the club and nearly twice as many as teammate Arnautovic on 11. In fact, De Bruyne and Sokratis were among Werder's foremost used players that season. But while the 21-year-old midfielder shone, the defenders struggled. The team conceded 1.9 goals a game that year, with only Hoffenheim allowing more, and ended up finishing 14th of 18 Bundesliga sides, going without a win from February 16th until the end of the season. A run of 13 games, which included 7 losses. They avoided relegation by just 3 points, but strangely, it was Sokratis who benefited from their miserable season, going on to Klopp's Dortmund that summer, while De Bruyne won the bench at Chelsea for 6 months before leaving for Wolfsburg. 9. Shaun Wright-Phillips and George Weah. One, a young star who never reached the level predicted for him. The other, an international football icon who won titles in 3 countries, the Ballon d'Or, and is now president of Liberia. Shaun Wright-Phillips and George Weah don't seem to go together, but the pair both featured for newly promoted Manchester City in the 2000-2001 season. Shaun Wright-Phillips a 19-year-old and Weah a veteran of 35. Despite his age, Weah was remarkably effective for City. The club struggled for goals all season long, with Paulo Wanchope finishing as their top goal scorer on 9, but Weah bagged 4 in just 9 appearances. However, he was rarely a starter, playing 90 minutes only 3 times for the Citizens, and only made it 2 months into his 2-year contract before disagreements with boss Joe Royle saw him terminate his contract. In hindsight, it was probably a wise decision. City had won 3 of their opening 9 games, but after Weah left, they won just 5 of their remaining 29, with Wright-Phillips failing to score or assist in 19 matches in all competitions. City ended the year in 18th in the ignominy of relegation, while Weah ended his playing days with paychecks at Marseille and Al Jazeera. However, demotion was the making of Wright-Phillips, as he scored 8 times the following year to return City to the big time, going on to build a stellar reputation before an ill-advised £21 million move to Chelsea derailed him for good. 8. Aaron Ramsey and Jimmy Floyd Hasselbaink. They may feel like players from different eras, but Aaron Ramsey and Jimmy Floyd Hasselbaink crossed paths in 2007-8 when Ramsey was a 16-year-old with 1 senior appearance to his name, and Hasselbaink was 35 and in the final season of a career which took in spells in the Netherlands, Portugal, Spain, England, and finally Wales, joining Cardiff to partner fellow veteran Robbie Fowler. Hasselbaink and Fowler had 1,041 appearances and 462 career goals between them, but that year they could only combine for 11 strikes in the league, as Cardiff finished 12th in the Championship. Ramsey, however, was in the ascendancy. Cardiff rejected 2 Premier League bids worth over £1 million for the teenager before it even started a game. And after replacing Hasselbaink against Burnley for his first appearance of the season, he went on to bag his first 2 professional goals that year, helping his team to the final of the FA Cup, where they eventually lost to Portsmouth, attracting attention from Arsene Wenger and Alex Ferguson in the process. Hasselbaink retired, Fowler left for Blackburn then Australia, and Ramsey went on to Arsenal for £5 million, making up for that painful FA Cup loss by winning the trophy 3 times and earning himself a move to Juventus. 7. Riyad Mahrez and Benjamin Mendy. Okay, so you can believe these 2 played together, but you may not be aware that Mendy and Mahrez knew each other before Manchester City. In 2010, Mahrez signed for League 2 outfit Le Havre, turning down offers from PSG and Marseille thanks to the quality of the aforementioned club's youth system, which at the time included a 16-year-old left-back named Benjamin Mendy, who'd been born 20 miles away from Mahrez on the south side of Paris, and had also joined Le Havre's youth academy aged 13. At the time, Le Havre were unimpressive even by second-tier standards, and in their 2 years together, Mahrez and Mendy finished 15th and 6th. However, Mendy was already tipped for big things, and in 2013 he left for Marseille, where he shone under Marcelo Bielsa. Mahrez meanwhile seemed to have missed his chance. By 23 he was still in Ligue 2, and had scored 6 goals in 60 games. But Leicester scout Steve Walsh saw something in the youngster and took a small risk on him, paying £450,000 to bring him to the Foxes. Mahrez hadn't even heard of the club and thought they played rugby. Remarkably, both players won improbable titles within 3 years, and they were eventually reunited in Manchester in 2018, when City paid a combined £113 million for them. 6. Teemu Pukki and Virgil van Dijk. Set to finish the 1920 season at opposite ends of the Premier League, Teemu Pukki and Virgil van Dijk were once teammates in Scotland, winning a title together in the 2013-14 season with Celtic. At the time, Pukki was 23 and had already flopped at both Sevilla and Schalke, while Van Dijk came in from Groningen in the Netherlands, after Ajax, PSV and Feyenoord all turned down the opportunity to sign him. The boys paid just under £5 million for the pair, but unsurprisingly their investment in Van Dijk was to prove more successful. Despite playing in the heart of defence, VVD netted 5 times in his debut season in Glasgow, just 2 fewer than Pukki, and when the Finn left for Bromby the following campaign, Van Dijk stayed and won the league again, this time netting 10 in all competitions to finish as the club's 5th highest scorer. In both his full seasons, he was nominated for the Player of the Year award, and while Celtic made a £1.6 million loss on Pukki, they made a £12 million profit on Van Dijk, and a further £8 million when he eventually joined Liverpool. Fortunately, there was a happy ending for Pukki too, the striker resuscitating his career with 4 years at Bromby before going on to hit 29 in the 18-19 season to help Norwich earn the most lucrative prize in football: promotion to the Premier League. Even relegation can't take that achievement away, and in fact, with 3 league titles, he and Van Dijk are currently level. 5. Fabinho and Mesut Özil. Fabinho may be a Red now, but the Brazilian once played under Jose Mourinho, and when we say once, we literally mean once. At 19, the midfielder joined Portuguese side Rio Ave from boyhood club Fluminense, and immediately went out on loan to Real Madrid's youth side Castilla, then in the Spanish Segunda Division. Fabinho made 30 appearances in the second tier, alongside Hesse, Alvaro Morata and Casemiro, as the team somehow only finished 8th. But he did enough to get a shot in the first team, earning a call-up for a home game against Malaga with 4 fixtures left of the season. Unsurprisingly, with the team featuring Modric, Kaká, Alonso, Ronaldo and Özil, Fabinho didn't start, coming on at left back with 14 minutes to go, and his side already 5-2 up. However, in his brief time on the pitch, he did manage to make an attacking contribution, setting up Angel Di Maria for Real's 6th, and in the process helping them to their highest score of the campaign. It wasn't enough to warrant a permanent move, and Fabinho instead spent the next 2 campaigns on loan at Monaco, before joining permanently in 2015. And while he may have missed out on Real's 4 Champions Leagues in 5 seasons, he won the competition himself in 2019, and has 2 titles to Real's 1 in the years since. 4. Edgar Davids and Wilfried Zaha. In a career which took in spells with Ajax, Barcelona, Juventus, Milan and Inter, it's strange that Edgar Davids ended his career in England not with a super club but with Crystal Palace and Barnet. An extremely fit midfielder who played until he was 41, Davids signed for Palace in August 2010 on a pay-as-you-play deal, and despite his pedigree as a midfielder, was mostly used as a left back as the then Championship side fought to avoid relegation to League One. At the time, the Palace squad was a mess, with only 2 bright spots: 19-year-old right back Nathaniel Clyne and 18-year-old winger Wilf Zaha, then in his first full season as a professional. It was hoped that Davids, known as the Pitbull for his tenacity and work rate, could help mould these young talents into stars. But while Zaha and Clyne made over 40 appearances in all competitions, the Dutchman stayed with the Eagles for just 3 months, equating to 6 appearances before terminating his contract. Palace finished 20th, avoiding demotion by just 6 points, while Davids took a year off before joining Barnet as player manager, overseeing the club's relegation from League 2 and ending his playing days in the Conference. 3. Jamie Vardy and Harry Kane. Leicester City were promoted to the Premier League in 2014, but when you look at their squad, it's hard to believe it didn't happen a year earlier. In 2012-13, the club had Jamie Vardy and Chris Wood available up front, but clearly didn't rate their options, wheeling and dealing in the loan market to bring in Jesse Lingard and Michael Keane from Manchester United, as well as the highly rated 19-year-old Harry Kane. However, Kane had little chance to impress. He played just 15 times in the league, and while Vardy got twice as many appearances, the pair could only manage a combined 7 goals for the Foxes. As a consequence, 3 of the Championship sides outscored the club that campaign and they finished 6th. going on to exit the promotion playoffs thanks to Troy Deeney's 97th minute winner in that famous 3-2 loss to Watford. However, both picked themselves up, and the next year Vardy netted 16 in the champ to help his side to promotion, while Kane scored 3 goals in 500 Premier League minutes to earn his shot as Tottenham's starting striker in 2014-15. Half a decade on, and Kane has been to the Champions League final. Vardy has won the league, and the pair have featured together in a World Cup semi, as well as scoring 236 top-flight goals between them to date. 2. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Eden Hazard. It's hard to imagine a more lethal forward combination than Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Eden Hazard, who played together for Lille back in 2009-10. Hazard was just 18 at the time, but had already spent 2 years in the club's first team, while the Gabonese striker, then 20, was on loan from parent side AC Milan. While Hazard missed just a single league game and was involved in 13 goals, Aubameyang struggled for minutes, starting just 4 times and appearing as a sub in a further 10, netting just twice. Instead, the stars of Lille's season were Yohan Cabaye, Gervinho and Pierre-Alain Ferrao, who all bagged 13 to help Lille come fourth as the joint top scorers in the division. And it was only after Aubameyang's departure that the team really came alive. In 2010-11, Lille won League One by 8 points, again putting together the best attack. And the year after that, Hazard scored 20 and assisted 15 in 38 league games, earning himself a move to Chelsea. Oba meanwhile had another unsuccessful spell in Ligue 1 with Monaco and left Milan without playing a senior game. He ended up switching to St Etienne for just £1.6 million, where he'd become Ligue 1's top scorer and make team of the season before departing for Borussia Dortmund and superstardom. 1. Ederson and Jan Oblak. Giving new meaning to the term selection nightmare, Portuguese side Rio Ave faced the ultimate headache back in 2012-13, when the club had 2 superstar goalkeepers in the making in 19-year-olds Jan Oblak and Ederson Moraes. The Brazilian was newly arrived in Portugal from his homeland's second division, while the Slovenian came in loan from Benfica, with the pair intended to duke it out for the number 1 shirt. Oblak won the fight, playing 28 games while Ederson managed just 2, and Rio Ave recorded what was then the second highest finish in their history, ending up 6th. However, despite their talent between the sticks, 5 of the Premier League's other 15 sides conceded fewer goals that campaign. Nonetheless, 2 stars were born, and at the end of the year, Oblak returned to Benfica, where he kept 14 clean sheets in 16 games and helped Benfica to their first title in 4 years, catching the attention of Diego Simeone. Ederson, meanwhile, had continued to improve, and after Oblak's departure, Benfica knew just where to look for his replacement, paying Rio Ave £450,000 for the cultured stopper. Over the next 2 seasons, Ederson kept 24 clean sheets in 37 games, allowing just 16 goals in that time, and won successive titles before his switch to Manchester City. According to Transfermarkt, he and Oblak are now worth an estimated £122 million, a sum that Rio Ave, with a stadium which seats just 13,000 people, surely could have used. So guys, that was our 10 sets of players that you may not have known featured together. But did we miss any out? Let us know in the comments below, and why not click on screen right now to watch another EFD banger. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.